like to gamble, I tell you I'm your man. You win some, lose some, it's all the same to me.
Hey, what's up guys? This is me, Peterson here. I'm playing online as my man Mari, and I'm here doing my first video for Cardrunners. Today I'm gonna run you through a 100 Rebuy final table I played a couple of weeks ago, as you can see here. And I'm currently in 8th place with 9 remaining, so it doesn't look too good chip-wise, although I do have 21 big blinds, which is a stack I'm really comfortable with, because you can just sit around for a bit, and like if someone opens, you still have fold equity when you shove over them. So yeah, you're not entirely desperate with this stack yet. You still have some time to pick your spots. I'd like to apologize for the browser that just popped up. There might be a few times during this video where either my browser or iTunes or another table or AIM or something pops up. And it's just because I'm not really familiar with how Camtasia works just yet. And I have 2 monitors, which makes it even more tricky, but hopefully it will be eliminated by the next video. Alright, so there's a pretty interesting hand here. Peterson opens under the gun, and Mormon, who's a really aggro laggy player, free bets him, and another wreck, the Dewey, ships all in for just about 20 big blinds from the big blind. And I think he has a pretty strong hand here for the most time, even though Mormon can be sort of weak here. He doesn't have that much fold equity, if any, so he needs a pretty strong hand to continue here. And Peterson has an interesting decision, it seems, but he ends up folding. I assume Mormon is going to call here. Yeah, that's a standard call, and nothing you can do, obviously. But Mormon, being Mormon, obviously decides to bink the jack on the river, so he has an even bigger chip lead now. And he's pretty dangerous with the chip lead. I'll get to my reads on the players in a second. Alright, so here with 21 big blinds, I'm in raise king jack off. There's no small blind this hand, which sort of works in my favor and against me. It works against me in the sense that with no small blind, there's obviously less incentive to steal. There's less money in the pot. But the good thing about it is that since I know most of these players at the table and they're fairly smart players, they'll realize that I know this as well, and as such, they will assume that I will open with a tighter range of hands. So in that sense, it benefits me. It probably evens itself out at the end, but just something to keep in mind. Alright, so quickly my reads on the different players at the table. If we start with fill in the blanks, don't really know too much about him. Might be a regular or semi-regular player, but I wasn't entirely sure at the time, so I just elected to assume he was a random player. And Peterson, the next one, he's really, really good. Like, he plays all the big tournaments online, but also cash games to like 10-20, I think. People who read on 2+2 will know him, because he posts a lot, but I don't think he wants his name revealed, so I'm not going to do that. Just going to say that I have a huge amount of respect for his game. He's really good. Yeah, not looking forward to playing pots with him at all. Then there is Pimes right next to me. I only played with him from 2 tables down, but the way he has played so far, like my read on him, is that he's pretty passive, will mostly just call pre-flop with too many hands, will re-raise his good hands, like play pretty straightforward. Call it off flop, call it off turns, probably fold a decent amount of rivers. And the way he got all his chips was just cooling someone with aces versus kings in the bubble, so that's why he has such a huge stack. Alright, so here I have queens with 17, 18 big blinds, something like that. And Mormon opens. The only thing I can really do here is shove. Even though he is opening a lot of hands, he's aware that I know he's opening a lot of hands, and he's gonna adjust by calling with more hands. And if I just re-raise here, it's gonna look way too strong and suspicious, because I wouldn't really do that with my weaker holdings. So, and calling is completely out of the question. Like, just looks way too strong, and yeah, like there's just no point to it, so it's a pretty easy shove. It's just unfortunately that he folded. Alright, oh yeah, so Ship It Off, who's on my left, he's a really good regular as well. Plays pretty tight in my experience, but doesn't really make too many mistakes or anything. Just not gonna give up many chips, so not thrilled to have him at the table either. The same thing kind of goes for Ronald Grower. I think he plays slightly more hands than the average regular, but he plays well, and he's been around for a long time and doing well consistently. And just like the other guys at the table, he knows how to play a stack. He has now like 23 big blinds or something like that. Like, he's very aware of how to play this stack, so he's not going to be giving too much up either. Then there's Mormon, who I have the purple node on. Oh, by the way, I should explain that. The light blue node is what I use for really good regulars. People who play really well and have a good game, basically. Now, the purple color I have assigned to, like, I guess, like, between 10 and 15 people or something. And I only use that for the absolutely best players, like the elite. And Mormon certainly belongs in that category. He's, like, extremely laggy, but also really aware of his image. And when he has a huge chip lead like this, he's just going to be absolutely relentless with his aggression. And just open a ton of pots. Yeah. Alright, now I have a hand here, 2 tens, just min raise again. Hopefully, this is a pretty good spot to pick up some chips and get a double up. Let's see what happens, especially if one of the shorter stacks reships. Yeah, here, as you can see, a snap call. It's not like I'm that far ahead of the hands Mormon plays, but I do think he shoves like some smaller pairs, like say 7s through 9s at least. And he can have like the random worst hand. And besides, I need a double up, so like all those factors considered, it's a very easy call. And I think the 7 doubled up. Want to flip against Mormon? How about that? So now I have a really comfortable stack. Like, the difference between what I can do with a 20 big blind stack and a 40 big blind stack is pretty huge. Basically, I can just open more hands now. I can free bet fold to people. Like, I just have more moves in my arsenal now, which is really cool. And ace king here. And ship off min raises, just like I do, under the gun. Now, you could probably make an argument for calling, re-raising, or shoving. I think calling is by far the worst. Like, I'm just not going to I'm going to keep his dominated aces in, but I'm not going to be able to stack him even close to often enough to justify it. Now, I like to just free bet just because I want to give him the chance of jamming like a jack 10 suited, ace jack kind of hand. It's not going to happen terribly often, but at least it can kind of give him the illusion that I have a bluffing range in that spot. And as you can see, I snap him off trying to look cool, and he has 2 aces, so I end up looking pretty dumb. That's obviously a standard cooler. There's nothing you can do here. This is just bad luck. Even like at this stacked up at the final table, even if it's under the gun versus the big blind, like, we're just way too shallow to ever consider doing anything else. So now I'm back on this short stack grind, and the blinds just went up. So now I'm even shorter than when we started this final table. I guess I forgot to mention my read on Fighting Chicken. To be honest, I don't really remember too much about him. I feel like he might have been slightly too over-aggressive. That's usually what I use that orange-yellow color code for. Like, just seeing too many flops and being too aggressive in the wrong spots. But I feel like he played pretty solid overall, from what I recall of playing with him before. I've definitely seen him around. Alright, so he opens here, and I have ace-jack off from the bottom. Pretty easy shove in my opinion, because as I said, I think he's opening like a decent amount of hands, and I have fold equity, and well, I'm the shortest stack at the table. Like, all those factors combined just makes it a pretty easy shove. Unfortunately, he has been dominated, but I bing it. So I got pretty lucky there, but again, one of those hands where I feel like there's nothing you can do differently. Like, that's just the way it's supposed to go. So now I have around 30 big blinds, which is kind of interesting since I had a 20 big blind and a 40 big blind stack before. And what I can do with this stack is obviously somewhere in the middle of the other two. Like, it's possible to free bet fold, but it's certainly not recommended unless you feel pretty confident in it being the right move at the spot. Another thing that would indicate that Pons might not be such an experienced player is that you can see he's the only player at the table who opens to 3x. He just opens to 3 big blind raises, which is way too big when stacks get this deep. So yeah, 9-5 suited, just folding here. The big blind is really short. Ronald Grauer on the button has a really good reshove stack, and Mormon is known for free betting light. Not a good spot to open light at all, in my opinion. And Mormon shoves from small blind versus big blind. I imagine he's shoving just about any 2 cards there for less than 10 big blinds. Seems fairly reasonable. And here you can see Mormon open shove from the button, even though the big blind has actually 20 big blind, which is sort of the standard nowadays, but just kind of interesting note. Alright, here I have Ace-King suited against Pimes, who I just told you about my reads in depth. And I'm free betting him fairly small here. Again, mainly to give someone a chance, either Pimes or one of the other guys to put it in to the light behind me. Kind of hope to induce a light 4-bet. The other thing that's good about making it small is that I feel like Pimes is going to peel a ton of hands here, and you just want to keep in all the hands that have dominated, all the dominated aces and kings and stuff. This is a pretty bad flop, obviously, not the greatest at least. I decided to check it back. I have the backdoor flush draw. And here he checks really, really fast again. Now, I feel fairly confident in my hand at this point. And pairing the board on the river makes me even more confident. I'm pretty sure I always have the best hand here almost. As you can see, I almost considered betting, and I probably should have done, just trying to fold out better ace highs. And he had Jack 10 suited, so he definitely is peeling with a fairly wide range in that spot. Probably all the hands he opens. So that worked out fairly well. I'm pretty happy with how I played that, except maybe I should have bet the river. He's not going to hero call kings like some people might do, but he's might fold out aces, although I'm not entirely sure. Alright, so open 4s here. Pimes defenses big blind against my min raise. Get a really good flop. Easy continuation bet. And as you can see, I bet a little over half pot. That's also my standard. I make smaller continuation bets than most people do. And it's sort of just a preference thing. It's certainly fine to make it bigger as well. That's more the common thing to do these days. But I just feel like you can put a lot of pressure on people like just betting like around half the pot. Alright, so Queen 5 suited in the big blind here. We're looking for a walk, obviously. It's not that great a hand. Like, if Sergey Peterson does anything, I'm certainly not going to be defending here. Even if Pimes call, I still wouldn't defend, probably, just because it doesn't flop very well at all. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like I folded this hand. I'm probably, yeah. That's not a great spot to free bet light. Alright, so here I have 7s, blind versus blind. Against the good reg. I have no intentions of folding this. Like, if he free bets here, I'm just gonna pile it all in his face, because this is such a strong hand, blind versus blind against another good player. But he just calls, defense. At this flop, obviously, I flop a set, which is huge. But not only that, but this is a flop where the hands that he peels with, I feel like it hits pretty well. So, I feel like there's a good chance you can stack him here, especially it's also a really drawy board. So there might be a chance to like get him to put it all in with a huge draw. Alright, so he just calls my bet on the flop, and I have no plans of slowing down here. I should just keep on betting for sure on this texture. There's not really any good point in checking. Like, he's gonna check better hands behind, not better hands, but like 8s or something like that behind sometimes, 8x. And he might check, like, if he has like 6-5 or something, he can check that behind. Even, I don't think he has hearts that often, but if he has, he can check them as well. Like, there's just no point in checking. You just need to keep on betting. But he folded. So, yeah, nothing you can do there. But still in a pretty nice pot. I have a pretty good stack by now. I'm 13 chips now. That's pretty, 4th, I guess. But looking pretty good. As you can see, once again, Pime's just flat calling. Although it's more reasonable with this stack. Like he's up against the other big stack. He can afford to see a flop in position. Ronald Grauer squeezes. I'd say regardless of what he has here, that's a really good squeeze. Because the first thing is Mormon, even though he's under the gun, he's opening a lot of hands. And Pimes, whenever he flat calls in that spot, he's never that strong, I don't think. Like he's just gonna free bet all his really good hands. Like he could just call something like nines or ace jack or something here and maybe call it off. But I think that's a pretty good spot to squeeze, and it also looks pretty strong actually, even though it's only 20 big blinds. It's because he's doing it against an under the gun raiser. And yeah, Pimes is tangling it here. I don't think he's ever very strong here at all. But he has a lot of chips and he's getting an okay price, yeah. Yeah. I'm not really happy with the results, obviously. I'd rather both see a player get knocked out, so move up the pay scale, and I'd rather have the more inexperienced player have all the chips, but oh well. Yeah, that's another thing, by the way, that I don't feel like people pay enough attention to. Like, just moving up the pay scale, like, a lot of people say you should play to win, and while there's obviously some truth to that, it's also pretty important to, like, keep in mind if some people are really short, or, like, if you can move up easily in the pay spot, you should probably avoid a high variance spot for that. A good example here would be, like, Fighting Chicken has, like, less than 8 big blinds. I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't get it in here ever. I'm just saying that he's going to be in the blind right now, for example. So he's probably going to bust a double pretty quickly. And, like, him like, moving up the pay ladder basically is more important than most people are giving it credit for, is what I'm saying. And Mormon shoves any 2 cards here, I believe. Just about any 2 at least. Maybe not deuce 7 off or deuce 3 off, but certainly 8-5 off or 6-9 suited, or like he's jamming a ton of hands here. Yeah, deuce 9 suited, and Fighting Chicken makes a real good call here. Jack 9 suited, or Jack 9 off. I'm surprised by that he made that call, but that's a really good call, and not just being results oriented because he had Mormon dominated, but he's definitely getting a good enough price to do that. And again, now he has like 15 big blinds or something like that's a pretty workable stacks compared to what he had before. Yeah, about 15. Sorry, my math isn't that good, so I'm counting out loud sometimes. You gotta bear with that. A pretty bad spot to open for me again. Like, just way too many people have stacked. Like, fill in the blanks, Fighting Chicken, or just waiting for someone to raise so they can push over them. And Mormon is just waiting to free bet me. And wow, that's a big shot. Now, no more. Yeah, because like the big blind here has 32 big blinds. That's a really big shot. Not exactly sure what Mormon would have in that spot. I imagine he has like a small pocket pair that's an unexploitable shove, like a fair amount of the time. Like deuces through sixes or something. Maybe some weak aces, some broadways like king jack off, hands like that, if I should guess. And Pime C is another flop. I'd imagine, yeah, I was just about to say, Ronald Grauer bets again. I definitely think he has a hand he's value betting. Like, he's not bluffing on the turn often at all. Not against a player like that. And Pimes, that's another thing that's kind of typical for that kind of player, like putting out small block bets on the river. Not really, probably doesn't have like a really good reason to do it, more just doesn't want to check, doesn't want to, like, just not being sure what to do, like putting in a small bet, like you can always do that. And certainly not recommended unless you have a really good reason to, but it's just one of those things you can look out for in more inexperienced player, in my experience. Alright, so Jack 6 suited here. Looks like a pretty easy fold. Hope I don't do something stupid. I don't think so. Oh man, I'm probably considering free betting here. Just because the thing is, like, he opened the button before, and he's gonna, with times in the small blind, I suspect he's gonna open a lot of buttons, and not expect me to play back at him at this stack dip all that often. But it's still kind of, it's a pretty shitty hand to free bet fold, or like just to free bet. So, alright, Mormon opens under the gun, and Fighting Chicken jams. He didn't have to pay that much more, but as I said, Mormon is opening a lot of hands. So he can call there with like his 6-7 suited or 10-9 off or whatever he had. Alright, folded to me on the button here. And we're pretty deep, all things taken into consideration. I think this is a pretty good race. Pretty good spot to open with a wide range of hands. And Jack 8 off is not a bad place to start. But I do get free bet. And doing anything but folding here would be really dumb. He's not going to be bluffing all that often. And yeah. Well, like the reason I feel like it's an okay spot to just open the button is that none of them has stacks where they're just going to re-raise me all in, like shove it in my face. They're gonna like Ronald Grau just did, like free bet me small probably. And I don't think they're going to free bet small bluff me all that often, so that makes it a pretty good spot to him, like just about in a two. And if he decides to defend, like say weak ace or something like that, like it still flops decently in my hand. So yeah, I'd be opening pretty wide in that spot, I imagine. Not 100% of my hands, but a reasonable amount for sure. And man, it gets folded to Mormon versus Fighting Chicken, blind versus blind all the time. And I believe Mormon has raised or shoved like every single time. He's probably gonna fold here, yeah. That's pretty funny. Yeah, easy fold. The thing about a player like Mormon is he doesn't really, at least he doesn't seem to care that much about moving up the pay ladder. Like you will, even when he gets in with a chip lead here, I kind of like, he's an amazing player, but I kind of always expect him to either go out in 9 for get first. Like he's just that kind of guy. He just never stops putting pressure on people, which is why he's obviously such a great player. But like it's a lot of fun to play with him, and it's a lot of fun to watch him. Because he forces me to do stuff I normally wouldn't do. Like, he forces me to, like, when he opens, I'm forced to defend wider. I'm forced to free bet wider. And, like, shove wider on him. Because that's the only way I can really defend against, like, his relentless aggression. But sometimes it makes for some really interesting hands and spots. And that's the players I enjoy playing against the most. Like, the people who put you in spots outside of your comfort zone. That's where you really improve, in my opinion. Alright, so pot between Ronald and Sojo here. Checks back the flop. I imagine when Ronald checks back the flop here, he has some sort of showdown value for the most part. Like something like a pocket pair or king queen. Could check back an ace sometimes, but I think he's gonna bet it for the most part. And blind turn, obviously. He snap checks back. Yeah, I definitely think he has some sort of showdown value. If he bets here, yeah, I'd say he has something like 8s. Somewhere between 6s and 10s for the most part would be my guess. Oh, sorry, there is iTunes. Sorry about that. But yeah, he takes it down. And Mormon opens again. Even though like he's opening into at least 3 stacks that like can just shove on him very easily. He just never stops opening. It's just so much fun to watch and be a part of. I'm coming off as a huge fanboy here, and I guess I am, but I don't know, it's just really fun to watch like the truly top players at work, and especially the ones who are just so aggressive. It borders on being an idiot or a genius. Sometimes they're not really sure with some of those guys. And yeah, such a Peterson just moves in. He could be shoving really wide here. But Mormon falls. He gives it up. So slowly bleeding away. Alright, Queen Jack off here in the big blind. This could get interesting. This is never going to be an easy spot. Yeah. Like with Mormon opening here, like I feel like, yeah, that makes it an easy decision for me. I'm really glad he shoved actually, so I don't make a big mistake. I feel like I'll just defend against him, although I don't think, like if Fighting Chicken had folded is what I'm talking about, but I don't feel like shoving would be that unreasonable, and I honestly don't think folding would be that bad either, because like you're pretty shallow, you're out of position against a good player with a hand that can often be dominated, like as much as he's opening. It's still, like, it's going to be dominated a decent amount of the time. I feel like call would probably be best, but it's pretty close, actually. Alright, easy fold here. Folding the blanks has been really patient at this table, it seems. He's been waiting for a spot, which is a pretty good strategy with how aggressive this table is playing. Again, pretty good spot to... Not much has changed since the last time. I'm still going to open this for a min raise. Obviously fold to any resistance, but take it down this time. Again, like 4-7 suited, not that it matters a ton what my hand is, but if the big blind decides to just defend, it's a pretty nice hand to have. Like it can flop. You can get some pretty okay flops. But like when you're on the button, like I just were before, and with the Jack 8 off an orbit ago, when there are good players in the small and big blind at this stack depth, your hand matters way less than say if they're inexperienced players who are just gonna peel a ton of hands, then it kind of matters a lot what you can flop. But here it's not as important, just because they're rarely just gonna call pre-flop. Alright, I just folded ace 5 off. I just raised the pot like 2 hands ago. I think it's a reasonable fold for sure. I don't think opening would be bad either though, but I just elected to fold it this time. And Mormon just folded the button. Wow. Fighting Chicken jams. And takes it out. Alright, ace queen off. Gonna min raise again, obviously. Maybe get some action. Oh, yeah, I'm obviously rooting for action here, because a lot of the hands people would put in a lot of money with here. Like if someone, like if Fighting Chicken shoves here, he often has like an ace 9 through ace jack kind of hand. Or like king queen or queen jack, or like some hand dominate. So that's pretty sweet. But I just take it down again. Which is alright as well. Just staying around. Not really much to say about this. Obviously an easy fold if it gets folded to me. Yeah, Sergey Peterson again, like, seems to be, obviously he could just have hands, but seems to be picking up really well and just how wide Mormon is actually opening, or at least seems to be opening. I haven't seen Mormon's cards, but like just by the frequency of his raises, it seems pretty clear that he's opening a ton of hands. And Sergey Peterson has picked up on that. It seems pretty well, even though like he's shoving 10 times Mormon's bet, like he's picking up a lot of chips when Mormon folds. He's picking up, like, if Mormon makes it 15k, he's picking up like 30k each time, which is just absolutely huge with a stack like that. So definitely seems to be very aware of what's going on with Sergey Peterson. And Mormon opens again, obviously. Yeah, I'd be really interested to see Mormon's cards here. Like, just for this whole final table. He's just playing amazingly aggressively. And I kind of wonder, like, what kind of hands he opens in what spots. Yeah, just folding here. 3 good players behind me, not gonna mess with them. Hand flop terrible. Yeah, this could potentially get interesting. Yeah, because this is the kind of flop where Ronald Growl limps in and Mormon checks. Like, this is the kind of flop I expect to hit both of them fairly hard. Like, just low bars like that, and especially with a flush draw as well, could easily generate some action. And like, they could honestly, I'm not even gonna try to bother to guess what kind of hands they have, because it's such a wide range. But it's pretty interesting to see if Ronald pulls the trigger here and just jams it in. I will say that I don't think when Ronald limps in and on a board like this and then leads, I don't think Mormon is bluff raising very often at all. I think he has some kind of hand here for the most part. I could be wrong, but oh yeah. Oh, that's a huge pot. Kind of cooler though, like I don't really blame any of them for how they played it, for sure. Seems fairly standard with 2 aggressive players, blind versus blind, even though it's a weak top pair. It's still a top pair. Alright, so I have ace king now, and I come in for a min raise, just like all the other times. And again, I just take it, like no one want to play with me. This is pretty frustrating. King jack off here. Just gonna open it again, I assume. Yep. Now this time I hope people don't play back at me, because they should have done that before when I had ace king and ace queen. If someone free bets here, that would be pretty awkward. Filling the blanks jam, it would be pretty awkward as well, but given how tight he has played, I would probably have to fold it. Feel real gross about it. I'm not sure actually. I could afford to call. Yeah, that would be pretty close. Alright, either way, didn't happen. So blinds are up. Fighting chicken. Open jamming the button, which, while not certain, is a good indication that he knows what he's doing. People who make big open shoves, especially this deep in a tournament, it's usually a good indicator that they're a decent, competent player. You rarely see more inexperienced players do that. Fill in the blanks, jams the button, standard, and Pimes. Kind of a little surprised Pimes called with ace-4 off, actually. Like, just given how tight he's, like, I expect him to call a shove there, and he did call fairly quickly. Gotta give him credit for that. I might have underestimated him, it's very possible. Like, I don't have that many hands with him. I'm just going from, like, what I've seen him, my intuition tells me. Alright, Mormon opens again, and unfortunately I can't shove on him. I'd love to, but this is a pretty bad hand. Yeah, Mormon opens. We have a trashy hand again. Kind of wish we had like I'm not even asking for like great hands against him, but like instead of like queen deuce and 8 deuce offsuit, if I just had like kind of a hand like this, like a king 10 suited hand, a 6 like a middle pair, a suited ace, like something where it could reasonably reshift against him and feel okay about it, that would be great. Alright, so here I have, this is a pretty interesting spot. He just free axes like he always does. Times, I have king 10 suited on the bottom. I feel like this is somewhat close, but I definitely, I folded here. Looking back at that, I'm not happy with that player at all. I definitely feel like that was a clear, well, not super clear, but I definitely feel like given the way he has played, I feel like that was a shot for sure. I messed up on that one. Another thing to consider if I shove on him there is like, even though he made that call with ace 4 before versus the button, like he's not that likely to call me. I feel like just because if I double through him, like it's gonna put a significant dent in his stack. He's gonna be the short stack or close to it. And I feel like that kind of player will value that a lot. And it just seems, I really messed that one up. Man, angry about that now. Oh well. I guess that's the good thing about watching my own play. I can help remove some of my own leaks as well. I even had the curve to set on all in, just for some reason ended up folding. Can't really explain it. Alright, gotta move on. Mormon Fighting Chicken has been playing blind versus blind like the last 3 times or something. This is ridiculous. But Mormon takes it down. So one for the good guys. Alright, so here I have Jack 10 off. I feel like this is a pretty good spot to open, like just with a min raise. Like for like it doesn't with so many good players behind, it doesn't matter a ton that I have 10 Jack off instead of like say deuce 7 off, because there I'm gonna call that often. But if such a Peterson does decide to like just defend his big blind, it flops really well. And the other thing is that if someone either free bets me or just shoves it in my face, I can easily fold. Like it's not like there are any of the stacks that's like 11 or 12 big blind. I mean, I would sort of have to fold, but almost be priced in kind of, and people would know I would be opening really wide. Here I can just open, and if someone reads it, just dump it easily. Alright, so here Mormon opens, Pimes defend. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Mormon continuation bets. Yep. And Pimes call it pretty quickly. This could be an interesting hand. Mormon check behind. Oh, that's an interesting reader. I feel like, when Pimes played here, I just think he has a queen like 100% of the time. He's not the kind of guy like, I'm not saying he like even that he flat calls ace king or jacks or anything pre-flop, but if he had like, let's say he did have top 2 or a set or something, he's not the kind of guy who will value better than that river. I feel pretty certain of that. So I'd say his most likely hand was like jack queen probably, although there are other combinations it could be as well. Alright, here fighting chicken open shoves, you just have to fold again. Not really anything else about that. Nothing to do. Many of those deuce free kind of hands lately, I think. It'd be nice if I could get something where I could just reshift. And like, because reshoving here in this stage of the tournament is a pretty crucial way to chip off. If it goes through, like, you pick up a ton of chips. You pick up like 40,000, which is absolutely huge. But I just haven't had the hands, unfortunately. This is a sort of interesting spot as well. I wonder what fighting chicken has. Huh. I'd expect him to continuation bet most of his strong hands, but I'd also consider that he would like continuation bet most of his bluffs as well. So either he had something in the middle or he just slow played. I guess that's possible. Seems like a pretty bad spot to do it though. Alright, moving on. Deuce 4 suited. Should. Yeah, I'm going to fold that anyways, even if it was folded to me. Ship it off, and Mortman is just going to shove too often to make it profitable to open there. And ship it off, ships it in. Against Primes. And yeah, as we've seen before, Primes not very likely to call it off pre-flop, I don't think. Yeah, as you can see, like a lot of the spots here with so many good players at the table are just someone opens and someone reshoves, and or like someone shoves over you, and either you have a hand like where you feel you can call or you can't. So a lot of it at this point is just comes down to like knowing what hands you can open, what hands you can shove with, and what hands you can call a shove with. Yeah, here again, like it's really amazing with so many competent players at the table. Like the way it plays out, like how aggressive people, like you see a raise and a re-raise almost every single hand here. There would be a lot of, like I've been on a lot of final tables with significantly weaker players where like you would see a ton of flops and like a lot of passive play. You just don't see that here. It really is a tough 100 rebuy final table. And you gotta love that Mormon, even though he only has like 160k now, like he's opening just as many hands as he was when he had 500k. He had, like it was like I talked about before. Yeah, he gets reshipped on again here. He just keeps on opening. He just never gives up, never slows down. He has to fold again. A little bit surprised by that. Should have figured out by now that Sergio Barrison is just gonna mash it over him a ton. Alright, 10-8 suited in the big blind here. Would be pretty nice to get a walk. Or if he folded the button. Sergio Barrison opens the button. I expect him to open a decent amount here because A, he thinks I'm gonna play tight, and B, he doesn't expect primes to be active that often. Now, this is a really good spot, in my opinion, to just go all in. Because, like, the one thing is that Sergio Barrison is opening a lot of hands, and primes never has a premium hand when he flat calls here from the small blind, I don't think. So there's a ton of dead money in the pot. Plus, my image has been really tight so far. And my hand plays pretty well, even if I do get unlucky and get called. Yep, that's a nice pot. So I feel like that's a pretty good example of me just like not getting frustrated even though people are opening a lot and just waiting to squeeze until I have a legitimately good spot. Like one I'm sure of, with a hand that plays well if I do get called, and just with an optimal setup, like one guy opening wide, one being like having a really weak range, just stuff like that. Makes it really profitable. I picked up a lot of chips, like 50k or something. Like that adds a lot of value to my stack right now. And like it means that I can just like sit around for a while, and like at the pace that people are racing and shoving here, like it's so extreme that I can hopefully just sit around and, I know this sounds weak tied, it's not really. I will obviously take a good spot if it comes, but I can just sit around for a bit and wait for people to bust each other. Alright, there's a break here on pause Camtasia. Now, I made an error here. As you can see, Mormon is here no more. And it was just me being really dumb with Camtasia and not realizing that that he had busted. It's a little embarrassing, I'm sorry about that. But he's not with us anymore. He busted to Peterson. And to be honest, I don't even remember the hand. But yeah. that's not gonna happen again, I promise that, but I was a little late with turning Camtasia back on. So we're 6-handed now. And again, like a pretty interesting pot brewing between Ronald Grauer and Primes here. There are certainly like a wide range of different hands they both could have at this point. But with Ronald keeps betting on this turn, I expect him to take a free card here fairly often and not be bluffing this turn much at all. Because I don't think he's going to make Primes fold that many value hands. So I expect him, my guess would be that he has a good hand here for the most part. Oh, and the blinds are up, by the way. It should be really easy to calculate now on his 5 and 10k. I have 27 big blinds? Yeah. So right in the middle of the pack, this round. I just fold Queen 5 suited here. Standard. And ship it off, ships it in. Also kind of expected at this point. I'd expect Peterson to call fairly wide here. I definitely feel at this point that he should be aware that Shibadov is gonna ship fairly wide, and he should adjust by calling with more hands, like more marginal pairs, more Broadway hands, weaker ace-x hands, certainly more ace-x suited hands, just stuff like that, like basic adjustments. But he was apparently fairly weak this time. Ship it off, shipping it in again, and taking it down. He's picking his spot really well and getting a bit loggy too, that no one has anything. Ace-8 off here, gonna open that for a min raise. And now it's my turn to get shoved on, but I'm gonna pass off on this one. It's too marginal. I would say I would have called there with ace-10 off. Ace-9 off would be close, but I would fold that as well. Because I have a pretty tight image, and I am also playing pretty tight, so I think he's gonna give me a lot of respect in that spot when I open there. And especially when the big blind has 15 big blinds as well. Like, I'm not gonna be opening pure trash there all that often. Alright, and here we have, he just snaps. Yeah, obviously really standard for both players. It's a good shove by Fighting Chicken. It's just 15 big blinds, but then Peterson has queens, so easy game. 5-handed now. Alright, so if I had to evaluate my own play in this video, I'd say I'd do pretty well for the most part, but I did miss some spots. The King 10 suited hand stands out. The 10s were probably a bit marginal, got really lucky there, and I made some mistakes heads up. But overall, I do think I played pretty well. If you guys have any comments or suggestions at all to how I can make the next video even better, I would really appreciate if you could put it in the comment box. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and this is Mickey Peterson signing off.